Welcome to welcome to our Lunch and Learn, sponsored by the Candy Factory and SCORE. Your hosts are Ann Kirby. She's the owner of the Candy Factory, which is a co-working space in downtown Lancaster. And fingers crossed, will be open next Friday as we move into the yellow phase. And myself, I'm Jerry Glenn. I'm a SCORE mentor. We've been holding these Lunch and Learns for the last 2 years on a quarterly basis. And this is a first for us, our first virtual Lunch and Learn. So as it says, Ann's having her lunch. Hopefully the rest of you are doing the same thing. I'd like to take a minute and a half to talk about SCORE. Our mission at SCORE is to foster vibrant small business communities through mentoring and education. We're a national nonprofit organization consisting of over 300 chapters across the United States and 10,000 volunteers. SCORE was founded 56 years ago, and the Lancaster-Lebanon chapter was founded 55 years ago. And currently we have about 80 mentors. We provide one-on-one business mentoring for small businesses and aspiring entrepreneurs. We also provide advisory boards for small companies who would like to have a board of directors, and we act in that capacity. In addition, we provide workshops and education seminars like this one today. Now, the nice thing about that is we're all volunteers, so all of our services are completely free, other than some materials for some of the workshops we run. So if you're in need of a free business mentor, reach out to us at www.lancaster.score.org. And if Kathleen's listening, I got that right. Now, today our subject matter is very timely as we are moving into the yellow phase next Friday. Tips to open safely with COVID-19 cleaning and disinfection requirements. We'll have 3 presenters today. The first is Denise Fessler, who has extensive knowledge in critical care solutions, having served as Vice President of Critical Care Solutions at Genea and Vice President of Clinical Management at Blue Cross. She is an RN, she has her master's in nursing, and now she's also a small business owner. Denise is also a SCORE mentor. Next is Laurie Holmes, who is a health, wellness, and safety specialist with Americhem. Laurie's background has been in how to break the chain of infection and has been within the infection control industry via the sterile processing field for over 11 years. And she's also a certified trainer in this field as well. And our last speaker will be Jim Brenner, who has spent his career in the distribution and packaging business with knowledge of janitorial, chemicals, equipment, and supplies. And Jim also is a SCORE mentor. And last but not least, you see Kathy Bonser, who is our Zoom specialist. She's vice president of our chapter in charge of education, and she'll be at the controls today. So without further ado, I'd like to ask Denise to get started. Denise?
Thanks, Jerry.
Denise, can I just give some ground rules first, please?
Sure.
I'm going to mute everybody so that you can hear the presenters clearly. At the end, Jerry's going to go through the chat questions that any of you have submitted, and we'll address the questions to the presenter, so all questions will be addressed. If you have additional at that time, we'll open up the mics and you can ask them. One other quick logistic point is that we've created a feedback poll that we'll present at the end of the presentation and Q's and A's, and if you can take 30 seconds to give us your feedback, that we would be most appreciative. So without further ado, let me start the presentation for you, Denise.
Thanks, Kathy.
Just muting. And here you go. Okay.
I don't see the slide.
Oops, technical difficulties. It was up. Let's see. 1 second. There we go.
That's the reason you're in charge of slides.
There you go. Next slide, please.
Yep.
So now more than ever, we're really ready and really amped to get ready. It's almost like, I feel like our picture should have been on a drag race and we're at red, ready to go to yellow and green quickly. It's really important for us to examine our business conditions now more than ever, and following a systematic business approach covering safety, marketing, and operations is really what our goal is at SCORE. Safety is what we're going to be focusing on today, and SCORE is really here to help you pivot, as you heard previously. Next slide. At SCORE, we've really looked at developing a restart strategy that has these 3 prongs with safety and efficacy at the top. We are looking at integrated planning for marketing, operations, and financials, and also safety. And the application of state and regulatory guidelines are critical. They just need to be somewhat interpreted. And we do want to apply and really emphasize that we are using a multifunctional approach, and again, focusing on safety today. Next slide. So our agenda today, we're going to go over regulatory guidelines, tips on reopening safely, and then Laurie's going to cover cleaning and disinfection and the bulk of our presentation, and Jim will end us with the sourcing considerations that are critical for us to be aware of. Next slide. So we know that there are guidelines, and it is like the source of truth, and I think it's important why we want to mention them. We know they're changing. The Department of Health is definitely changing and providing more content for us to be reviewing almost on a daily basis on their site. The CDC as well, and the CDC has really worked to simplify the guidelines. And if you go to the CDC sites, and I have all those references at the back of this presentation for you to go with hot links. But if you go to them, you'll find that they're making a concerted effort to make them much more easier for us to follow. But they are the source of the truth, and that's really the basement of what you should see in any other guidelines that you're actually reviewing and considering. Industry-specific guidelines are also available, and they're important for us to look at because we all have industry-specific approaches. They'll be unique to us. So it's different for an office space versus a hair salon versus a gym versus a restaurant, and they're very helpful. And even in the event that the state might necessarily not have guidelines for your specific industry yet, you can even visit other states because they all should be singing off the same truth, which is the CDC. The process to reopen Pennsylvania, as we know, we're going to be moving to yellow very soon, and those guidelines are becoming even more refined and providing more guidance for us. Sources for PPE, can't be more excited to say that not only do we have the Economic Development Corporation from Pennsylvania, but we also have the EDC and Chamber. Now we have a source from the county that we'll be able to get applications and receive PPE at no cost. Sources for cleaning solutions, however, and sanitizers and disinfectants is different, and we'll talk a lot about that today. Next slide.
Sorry.
That's okay. Tips on reopening I thought would be important are these 5. Follow the guidelines, get linked up to them. You get linked up to their Facebook or their Twitter or whatever. Make sure you're up to date with the changes because they're happening rapidly. And they're happening rapidly because we're learning more every day about this virus, as you know. You want to develop a safety plan. And again, the CDC and OSHA has a step-by-step process where you could actually develop a safety plan, and we'll help to support you in that as well. Identify somebody responsible, a responsible party within your organization. Usually it's going to be an owner because we're small, but an owner who has operational responsibilities to make sure that they're reviewing these guidelines and updating and monitoring the effectiveness of your plan so that you can demonstrate that you can show you're minimizing risk. Providing education to your employees and customers is critical. There's lots of tools out there on the Department of Health sites and CDC, even for what Americhem and others can provide for us to support and educate our employees appropriately. Penn Medicine is also an excellent resource for education, which we're working together with them as well. You want to create a culture of caring for your employees and customers. If you care and demonstrate that and communicate that, they'll do the right things. You need their compliance, you need their adherence to these guidelines. So creating that culture of caring will help to ensure that your employees and customers will abide by the guidelines that you've set. And then last but not least, be prepared for an accordion-like process, because we may need to open and close. We just heard about that in Korea today, South Korea having to do the same. So know that that is definitely going to be part of the process, that as we reopen, they'll be monitoring how the virus is reacting. And if we're seeing spikes in certain industries, in certain areas, we'll be able to react to that data and then potentially have to close. Our next speaker, I hope I wasn't going too fast there, but our next speaker is Laurie, and she'll talk a little bit about cleaning, I should say a lot about cleaning and disinfection and best practices. Take us away, Laurie.
Great, thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you all for having me present today. I'm very thankful for this opportunity. So go ahead and on to the next slide, please. All right, so the difference between office, retail space, and clinical care cleaning, obviously, we're moving into what we call the new normal. I jokingly say BC 19 and AC 19, before COVID and after COVID. There's two different types of mindsets now. You can go ahead and on to the next one. So there's going to be, an elevated expectation of cleanliness in all of our environments. And just today I was on a Zoom call with work, and they're saying that there's all these experts are popping out of the woodwork now. So your regular customers are going to be looking to see the cleanliness of your spaces. So I'm going to talk about high touch surfaces. For example, that would be your keyboards, your laptop. Cell phones are disgusting. Even the pens that you handle, any shared communal inanimate object that can hold germs is considered a reservoir. And then we move on to housekeeping surfaces, like the floor or underneath a desk, underneath a chair, less commonly touched areas. So one thing that we're really going to focus on is wiping down frequently those high touch surfaces on a regular basis. No more can we clean, the cleaning crew comes in at 8 o'clock at night and wipes everything down and everything's good. This is going to be a process that will be ongoing and throughout the day. Go ahead. So the CDC has been wonderful about providing posters and literature that you can actually print out. The document to your left, Stop the Spread of Germs, that's pulled right from their site. You can print these out and hang them up. But if you look at these 6 steps, nothing has changed. This is the same presentation I would have given you last year, other than, of course, the frequency in which we're going to have to clean. And our main goal, if you look to the image to your right, that is the chain of infection. And there's 6 links there. You have your pathogen, your germs, the reservoir where it lives, the portal of exit, how does it come out? Do I sneeze, cough? The next is the mode of transmission. How does it go from point A to point B? Is it going through the air? Is it direct contact? Is it common vehicle through food or water? Next, we have portal entry, which is very similar to the portal of exit. How it comes out, it can also go in. Our airway, our mouth, nose, portal of entry through our eyes. And this is why they're saying wash your hands and don't touch your face. So we all play a huge part in breaking this chain of infection. If we break the chain, the infection cannot continue. On to the next. So my question is, are you ready? So I just compiled a simple list of things to ponder and make sure that you have all the boxes checked, so to speak, which would be an EPA pathogen list and approved disinfectant that would cover COVID-19, your infrared thermometer, if that's mandated for your particular business, equipment to disseminate the product, whether it be a simple spray bottle or something that would do a more efficient process for you, hand sanitizer, of course, proper PPE, distance matting, rather than just laying down a piece of tape, maybe something more professional that says, please stand here. Plexiglass care, now that's a thing. That wasn't a thing 3 or 4 months ago. Public expectations clearly posted. So you want something on the outside of your door stating these expectations, and you want it to be professional. I would suggest that you laminate it so you can also clean it and protect it. And then of course, finally, that training and in the cleaning and disinfection process, which of course you're participating in now. Go ahead. So complacent cleaning methods versus heightened level. No longer can we just, clean for appearances. We have to clean for safety. It should have been this way all along, but it takes an event like this. So superintendents, parents, staff at schools. Next point, yeah, there you go. Building owners, restaurant owners, childcare centers, and even hospitals. Yes, even hospitals are stepping up their cleaning processes. So we're all essentially cleaning like we're in a hospital or a clinical setting. Expectations will be elevated. Standards of operation will need to be adjusted. And sadly, it does take an event like this to make these changes happen. Go ahead. All right, so we're gonna just define cleaning, sanitation, disinfection, and touch a little on sterilization. Cleaning is really just that physical act. If you're just wiping a surface, that's all you're doing, you're cleaning it. To take it a step further, if you're sanitizing, and sanitization would be recommended for food service, or in childcare settings where there's toys where a child would put that in their mouth, that's where you want to sanitize, okay? So kitchens, daycares, etc. Disinfection, you're taking it to a different level. You're killing much more, 99.999%. You always want to refer to your kill claim list from the manufacturer. So for example, if you ever look at the back of the Lysol can, it'll tell you you need to lay the product and have that surface wet, believe it or not, anywhere from 3 minutes to 10 minutes. That's a lot of Lysol. Next, we'll move on to sterilization. That's 100% kill of a microbial or any living organism on a surface. And I jokingly say, I wish we could just sterilize a whole room, but we don't have that as an opportunity. So disinfection is the highest level. And I always tell people, you want to take it to the highest level that you possibly can. But one thing that you must understand is that the cleaning part is the most crucial part of this process, okay? If it's not clean, it's not disinfectant. You want to allow that disinfectant to get to the surface. All right, so why do we clean and disinfect anyway? So a lot of folks are going to be moving to validation processes. This is actually what's called an ATP tester. Every living organism emits energy, and we're able to take that, take a sample, mix it with a reagent. It creates a chemical reaction similar to a firefly. And then we enter it into what's called a luminometer, and it takes a numerical read. It's not going to tell me what's on the surface, but it will give me that read. And then I can clean, I can go back, take another test. And as you can see, the item I cleaned, I was able to bring to 0. Are you curious as to what I was cleaning? Go ahead. Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing. The dog bowl, right? You ever pick up your dog bowl and it's slimy? That is a residual biofilm that's been growing in there. All it needs is bacteria, water, and time. That's why it takes physical agitation to remove that. So I love ATP testing because it really shows and is a great way to train your staff. Go ahead. So here's just an example real quick. As you can see to the left, take a swab 4x4 sample. You place it into that plastic apparatus. It breaks through, mixes with a reagent, and then you throw it into the luminometer and it takes a read. It's very fascinating. Go ahead. So again, I just want to point out that physical removal of soils before you would actually disinfect. I am going to get into dwell time because that is the most important part of disinfection. So go ahead, move on to the next one. So here we are, dwell contact time. It is imperative that you understand the disinfectant rather that you're using, and that you read the manufacturer's directions. If it says it's a 10-minute dwell time, it means it is a 10-minute dwell time. So you must adhere to these specifications. I know we live in a world of fast, fast, fast. We want to do everything fast. But now that we live in this COVID-19 world, we really have to step back, evaluate, and take time to make sure we're cleaning things properly and disinfecting them. Go ahead. So on March 13th, 2020, the EPA published the List N. These are disinfectants for use against SARS-CoV-2, which of course is the cause of COVID-19. This list includes products with emerging viral pathogen claims and those with human coronavirus. When you are searching for a disinfectant, please ask for an emerging path disinfectant. And the reason you're going to do that, like I said, everybody's going to be an expert. You will have customers coming in. How are you cleaning? What are you using? They're going to be like Sherlock Holmes up in there asking, right, Denise? She can agree, right? Go ahead, next one. All right, so disinfection, sanitation options. There's two things that you can reach out for. Ready-to-use product, which is great. And you see here, we've got a disinfectant and a sanitizer. So depending on what surface you're cleaning, that's how you want to relate that process. That's just a simple trigger. Next is concentrated. It must be properly diluted. It is cost effective, but then you need tools to dilute properly. So as you can see here, we've created an example of a product that we carry, and then you can put it into a quart bottle. It would take 1 pump. Can show the next image. And so you would just simply put that pump in that gallon jug, and then it would tell you if you use 1 pump, 1 ounce, that's all it would take is 1 squirt. So it does the math for you. You don't have to be a chemist. You add it to the water and you're ready to rock and roll. Go ahead. So donning and doffing PPE is just as important as wearing it. Donning means putting it on, doffing means taking it off. Be careful when you're removing your gloves, particularly that you're lifting up from the wrist and not going underneath with your contaminated glove and touching your skin. The one thing we don't want to do is cross-contaminate. There are lots of videos on that, by the way. So products for consideration, again, we have ready-to-use products like pictured to the left, and then that's popping up now would be concentrated products that you would have to mix, and the proper ratios are important to follow. So I jokingly say we are in a state of MacGyverism. There is a shortage of raw materials across the board. And so a lot of people are looking for wipes, Clorox wipes. They can't get their hands on them. So another alternative would be a charging wipe. I'm winking at you there. That would be basically a wipe. It's a dry wipe, and then you simply add a disinfectant to it, let it charge up, and then you're ready to go with a wipe. Go ahead. Additional PPE considerations. Again, wearing your mask. Wearing your mask up over your nose and your mouth properly. Under your chin's not going to work. Under your nose isn't going to work. You want to make sure you're covering your airway. Some requirements will be a face shield. If you wear a face shield, you're still going to have to wear the mask. And if you're just going to wear a mask, I would highly suggest that you wear safety glasses, and that will also cover your eyes and protect that portal of entry. Go ahead. So how do we break the chain and maintain consistency? It is going to take a mindset shift change. You know, perception will be reality when your customers are coming in. They're going to want to know what you're doing. You want to create a cleaning, sanitizing, and disinfection program. Arm yourself with the right tools, product, and follow-up is going to be key, and continuous training to maintain both engagement and consistency. Go ahead. So the #1 practice to stop the spread is washing our hands 20 seconds vigorously. Okay, this virus is made up of fatty tissue. The soap actually has a molecule that rips it apart, but it does take 20 seconds of agitation to fully shed it and then wash it down the drain. This is why they keep saying 20 seconds. Go ahead. and some additional measures. So again, cleaning high touch areas, increase frequency of cleaning during outbreaks. Routine cleaning will keep the cold, flu, COVID-19 viruses at bay. Use the EPA registered products like I mentioned before. Adhere to proper dwell contact time. Know your product in which kill claims apply. Refer to your SDS for PPE and safety considerations. Avoid cross-contamination. Use proper dilution per manufacturer's instructions. And please do not mix chemicals. It's not a good idea. That's a topic for a different day though. All right, I'm gonna hand it over to Jim now. Jim Brenner, thank you so much.
Thank you, Laurie.
You're welcome.
You recognize today that the products that you're looking for that meet the CDC guidelines are in short supply. Manufacturers are placing their distributors on allocation. Distributors are placing and giving priority to their customers and their existing customers. So when you're sourcing supplies, you want to catch them when you can. You want to prepare a list of COVID ID supplies that you need for your business. And as a side, you should look at all the requirements that you need for your business and contact your existing manufacturers to determine, one, are they still in business? Two, are the critical items that you need for your business available, and what is the current cost? It's been said before about a number of times here by Laurie, if purchasing a disinfectant, look for the registration number on the container. If you're suspicious about something, you can go to the EPA registration website, key in the number, and it'll tell you whether it is a registered product. You might find that a number of products have the same name or different names, but they might have the same EPA registration. That's because manufacturers oftentimes manufacture products for particular customers, private label, and so forth. Mm-hmm. At SCORE, we canvassed any distributors or any source of product in the area that we thought that you could get disinfectants, and that's where it started. We also looked at the recommendations that are on the on the Pennsylvania Commerce and Business site, where they had a list of sources. And what we found was that many of these businesses just didn't have the product, or when we asked them to be on a referral list, they did not have sufficient volume. You'll see that we have 3 large distributors that service this area. And these large distributors have purchasing departments that are very, very active in sourcing their existing products. And when existing products aren't available, I was afraid this was going to happen. When existing products aren't available, they're looking for substitutions. So it's an ongoing process with the distributors. Okay. If these distributors all require an account application, they have minimum orders, and by using, excuse me, by placing orders through the large distributors, if they don't have it available, they may place the item on back order or advise on substitutions. These distributors also have representatives that can help you with the selection of products. Also, they have online ordering. You can apply for a credit, or you can use credit cards. You'll also find that these the distributors that we're talking about have a lot of products in a lot of different areas. So after this session, you'll receive a list of these organizations, their contact information, generally the products that they handle, and you'll see that you may be able to combine products in order to make the minimums that these distributors have, anywhere from $300 to $500. Or you can join with other businesses to combine individual needs to meet minimum quantities. For instance, if disinfectants are available 4 gallons to a case and you can only use 1 gallon and it's in concentrated form, you maybe find other businesses that will go with you and take the other 3 gallons. And the same with other products, because these products are sold in bulk and they're not sold in dozens or individuals, except for particular items like face shields. And these are all defined on the distributors' websites. So I encourage you to look at these, spend some time clicking around the websites, see what products they have for COVID-19, see what other products that they have which you can use and you can combine to make minimums, and check prices against other sources that you have. Back to you.
We already touched on SCORE, so I'm going to move on and move us into question and answers. And Jerry, I'm going to turn it over to you, please.
Okay, chat room is pretty quiet. Let's start with the first question. If cleaning a restaurant, this is for Laurie, if cleaning a restaurant table, you just moved it there. I gotta find it.
I think I saw it. It said about dwell time.
Yeah, but I'd like to read it for those who
Sure,
may not have seen it. Does a dwell time mean you have to wait the full dwell time before the next guest take the table? Okay.
So, yes, you should wait proper dwell time. And I know it's a hard thing to ask, and that's a lot of time because time is money in a restaurant. You want to turn tables as quickly as possible. But if there's a way you can stagger the process so that, you know, you're able to meet that dwell time. I just went to a grocery store the other day. The kid sprays the handle and he wipes it right away. I'm like, not really doing it, you know. So
Tell him he had to have dwell time there.
I did. Yeah, I can't in good conscience not say anything.
I have a question. You had in one of the slides that you put up there, you said that it was from CDC, that they have these posters that
Yes.
you can get. Where can our clients get those? Where can they find those? Because I think that's really important that they are communicating with their
Yes.
customers what they're doing and how they're doing it.
Yeah, I will get the link again. But when you go on there, I think if you even type in poster in the search bar, they typically pop up. But don't hold me to that. And I'll try to find the link where I found it originally. But forgive me because there's been so much information going through my brain since this whole thing started. So, but I'll look for that and get that to you guys.
Fair enough. You have everybody unmuted.
I can.
Yeah, let's unmute everyone. So if you have a question, you can speak up. We did get another question in the chat room, and this is for a couple. Are there products with lesser dwell time than 10 minutes?
Yes, absolutely. Yep, and we have them. Yep.
And Rebecca Garver, she just posted the link for the poster.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
It's www.cdc.gov/coronavirus/2019. We'll include that in our release of the information from this.
You'll also, Jerry, you'll also find some posters and product information in each of these distributors that are available for purchase that give various information regarding the disinfection, and even the fact that you're making an effort to do everything. If a person doesn't feel comfortable going into a facility, they're not going to come.
Yeah, that's right. That's good. That's a good point. Okay, next question in the chat line. Would you recommend an electrostatic disinfection sprayer for some businesses like fitness studios? Laurie.
Yes, electrostatic spraying is great technology. Basically how it works is everything in the atmosphere is positively charged. At the nozzle, it assigns a negative charge. So every droplet coming out is negatively charged. It creates like a magnetic force. So for example, I could be standing 6 feet away from a chair. I use electrostatic spraying. Unlike a traditional trigger sprayer, where if I would just spray, it would go down. This actually wraps around, it envelops behind the chair, underneath the chair. It's great. It really gets into the nooks and crannies. Derry Township used it in their athletic department. They had quite a stench. And they used it, and within a week, they couldn't believe the difference because it was killing the odor-causing bacteria.
Okay, we have Gary Wilczek. He won't give up.
Well, you know what?
What products have the lowest dwell time? Excuse me, Denise.
Yeah. I wanted to just interject, Laurie. Could you, around the electrostatic question, could you just give an indication of the lead time on that?
Sure. So it's really cool. Our company does what we call a Marazoom every Friday, and we do updates, product updates. So we carry the Clorox T360, and I hope you don't mind me, but this is how I know this information. But Clorox T360 is like the granddad, like that's the Cadillac of the electrostatics. There's quite a bit of lead time on those. The Victory sprayers, it's a handheld gun in a backpack. We just found out that they literally are on the water and on a ship and heading our direction. But what I'm telling people is if this is technology that you want to employ, get it on order and get it in the queue, so to speak. It will inevitably, it will show up eventually, but if you don't order it, you'll never get it because it's just in such high demand. Healthcare basically has taken things and it's trickled down and then it gets to us. But we've been very, very fortunate with the amount of products that we're able to carry and help our customers with.
Thanks,
Good
Laurie.
question. Sure.
Okay. Back to Gary's question. He said, what products have the lowest dwell time?
So one of the items that I pictured was the TB side, and that's got a 2-minute dwell time. But it depends on the particular product and what you're looking for. But I would go with hospital grade disinfectants, like the TB side or Holt, for example. So if there's anybody who has specific questions, please field them to me through my email as well, and I can reach out to you directly to see exactly what your needs are.
So,
That was the next question.
Sure.
There was a question here about how they contact you.
Yeah.
And we have that on the slides that we'll be providing to people who are on this call. There will be an appendix to the slides that you've seen, and one of those slides will be Laurie's contact information.
I think it's important to note, Laurie, the role of the health and wellness specialists at each of these vendors. They'll have somebody that if you contact you, you'll actually walk through what that would be best for them, correct?
Absolutely, yes. And just like you said earlier, every space is going to be different. Every need, their needs are going to vary. The only thing that's not going to vary is the way you should clean, disinfect, following dwell times. And I'm telling you, so when you're in this industry, and for example, I go out to eat with a group of my coworkers, we're like eagle eyes. We're looking around, watching people clean. This is the way we've always been. Now, everybody's going to be this way, right? So we really need to be on top of it. I love culture of caring that Denise said earlier. You really have to convey and make your staff feel safe, make your customers feel safe when they walk in the door.
Okay, next question. Droplets in the air. Any suggestions for bathrooms? How long between uses? 5 or 10 minutes? We are covering or removing soft surfaces. What do you suggest on cleaning sofas, etc.? And happy to do bulk purchases with others. Can we create a list? Do we know when the Lancaster EDC kits will be ready?
Okay.
A lot of questions there. Anne's got a lot of questions.
Yeah, I can speak to soft surfaces. So that's another cool thing that electrostatic does is you can use it on soft surfaces. There's also products that are put out that can be used on both hard and soft surfaces. That's definitely a legitimate concern. As far as how often you clean bathrooms, I would be cleaning them as frequently as you possibly can. Denise can speak to this, but the actual aerosol, if somebody were to sneeze, that viral pathogen can actually be held in the air for up to 3 hours. Okay, and one more thing I want to say is regarding mask. I'm wearing a mask to protect you, and you're wearing a mask to protect me. Did I cover all that? Did I cover all the questions? There was quite a few in there.
Let me add to the restroom a minute, Jerry.
Yeah.
You're in an ideal world, your restroom is going to be contactless. The toilet's going to flush when you leave the stall. The water will come on without touching it.
Yep.
And the paper towels will come down without touching the dispenser. Hand dryers, I don't recommend those at all because they're picking up air from the bottom of the floor and circulating it up into your hands. The second thing would be to have a waste container somewhere near the exit of the door so that after you wash your hands and you dry them, you can use the paper towel to open the door and dispose of the towel as you leave. You're in essence not touching any of the surfaces. Not everybody has that, but that's the way to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Denise, you have anything to add?
Yeah, on the EDC piece, I just want to say too, we're going to be hearing more. We should hear early next week about the process for which we have to go through to actually request, the PPE. And so stay tuned. There is a website, recoverylancaster.com, that is not operational yet, but it's actually like helping us coalesce all this information in one source to go to, and they'll be releasing information about how the PPE distribution will occur. So stay tuned on that. That's a good question. And I think they're hope to have the website operational within the next 1 to 2 weeks. So we're going to hear more about that. They're working, diligently to make sure that this information is going to be produced. So I think the best source for that will be the EDC and the chamber.
So Denise, maybe one point you can add to that is the PPE kits that will be provided by the EDC include certain things, and maybe you want to link it to this presentation.
Yeah, I think that would be great. There are some limitations. The PPE will have masks, it will have hand sanitizer and thermometers, but it will not include gloves, it will not include gowns, and it does not include cleaning supplies and or disinfectants. And it's interesting, the EDC and Chamber found, what we find is that it was not necessarily easy to get to this source because it's not even on the PPE list from the Economic Development Group from Pennsylvania. Cleaning solutions and disinfectants were not there for a source. So not surprisingly, folks are looking for this information, and that's why we thought it was really important to find that source. And through Jim's efforts, we found Laurie.
Yeah, that's great. And Kirby, did we answer your question about the bathrooms? I'm not sure we answered that.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the cleaning frequently. I know a lot of small businesses that I've talked to can't fit their bathrooms completely with motion sensor faucets and paper towel dispensers, and a lot of that stuff's not even ready available, even if you wanted to outfit your restroom with those kind of things. So there has to be obviously the understanding, like Jim, you had mentioned, like we're actually creating a poster on how to be as contactless as possible while still having some contact, and using the paper towel to turn off the faucet, to open the doorknob, to throw it in the trash can outside the bathroom. So I think that what we're going to find is, while all of that is great to go as contactless as possible, the majority of small businesses are not going to be able to do that and do it right away, right? Obviously, especially if people are opening on Friday. So what are those workarounds? So Jim, that's very helpful too. But I think I was also asking a question about, so air droplets, right? So if it's 3 hours, like if someone was to sneeze in a bathroom, if you have a restroom, and you don't have that many restrooms, which a lot of restaurants, for example, don't have, or small businesses don't have a ton of restrooms, what is the suggested time? Even if you could say like, well, between uses, we want at least a 10-minute, at least minimum time between uses. Does that make much of a difference? Are we just suggesting that they wear their mask in the restroom throughout that process? Like what some of those kind of workarounds to make people feel safe about using a public restroom, because a lot of small businesses, especially in the city, are operating with small one-person restrooms as well. So they're not even in stall-like larger restrooms.
Great question. I mean, Laurie, do you have, I know my thoughts. I mean, I guess my question is to you, you know, what comes to mind right away is the frequently touched items. The requirements from the CDC are that you're supposed to, you know, disinfect frequently touched items. And in the bathroom, there are certain items that we frequently touch, right? So we would touch the handles. We would touch the handles on a, you know, at the sink. So these frequently touched items are areas that absolutely need to be disinfected on a regular basis. Now I'm going to ask Laurie what frequency she would recommend. I know I've heard some suggestions, but I wanted to see what her thoughts were.
So yeah, I mean, I would suggest that I like the fact that you're asking your customer to do what, a 10-minute time in between. That's going to be kind of hard to monitor, though. I mean, I know I see your challenges.
Well, actually, I found a motionless clock, like stopwatch, like a motion sensor stop timer.
Oh,
So
that's
when
cool.
someone exit the restroom. Now, I run a co-working space, so we are in space throughout the day. They can actually hover their hand over it, and it will start the clock. So you'll be able to see the clock and see if it's been at least 10 to 15 minutes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Between the usage, and then when you come out, you hover again, it reboots it. So that's just trying to be innovative
Sure.
with the little bit of technology we have and what we can get access to.
I would definitely
love that idea.
Yeah, I love that too. That's awesome. I would definitely encourage your customers to wear a mask. You know, again, we're trying to reduce those droplets in the air. And if you see somebody coming out and you have the opportunity to do a wipe down, I would do that. I would place your trash can by the door. You know, I jokingly say, don't make them Michael Jordan it across. And we actually just this morning in our Americhem, we have this thing, it's called a mini torque. It's just a smaller unit of hand towels that you can hang up. And it's because it's smaller, it's an easier placement. So I can send out information on that as well. It's just great. This company that I work for has just been so innovative, so diligent and relentless in the pursuit of finding things to help folks out reopen. So it's been great.
Okay, next question. What are your thoughts, best practices with the use of protective shields in the workplace? In between tables at restaurants, or gyms, in between equipment stations? I think there's several questions there. One is, you know, what are the best practices on face shields and then protective shields in restaurants and gyms, et cetera?
Oh, so she's talking about the protective acrylic shield.
Yeah.
Okay.
The plexiglass.
Yeah.
So we actually, this is awesome. We work with Spartan Chemical, and they actually came out with, and it was in one of my slides, I think at one point, but they have plexiglass care because it does take special attention. And so they have 4 or 5 products that you can actually use on plexiglass because you want to keep it as clear as possible. But depending on the chemical that you would apply to it, it could create that foggy, milky look to it. So I actually can send that out as well.
Okay, good.
Laurie, if you send that to me, then when I send out the summary to everyone,
Sure.
I'll include it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send a bunch of literature to you.
Okay.
And then you can send it out. Yeah. We also do create free posters that I sent to Jim earlier with like welcome, and like it kind of has a list of best practices, and you can put we can put your company logo on it. We like to provide free literature to help you guys out as much as possible.
You know, but that also came to mind, Laurie, maybe you might want to talk about to the group about the education and the certificates that you provide that could be posted in their
Sure.
places of business.
Sure. I just did a training for Hershey Pantry in Hershey. I don't know if you guys have ever been there. Best French toast ever. Stuffed French toast, I should say. But I did a training for them. And so I typically charge for the training. But what I'm doing is I just feel passionate about getting this information out to everybody. So then I provide a really cool certificate. again, perception's reality. And I said, just, you know, hang this up so the public can see when they're going to the restroom or in plain visual sight, and they can see, oh my gosh, they're trained on proper disinfection and cleaning. They're going to feel a little more comfortable being in that atmosphere. So that is another service that I do provide. I provide you with a menu with like a checklist so you can check each module off. I give you blank certificates so you can continue to use the program. And then you also have access to the PowerPoint that I've created.
There's also online training too that I know Spartan has and others, correct?
Oh, so yes, Spartan Chemical is amazing. And if you buy, doesn't matter if you buy 1 case of product or 50 cases, you can get access to the back part of their site, and it's called Clean Check. They actually have post-pandemic and pandemic training course. There's a video, there's a test, and then it generates certificates for you guys. So anybody who would be interested in that, I could always set up a Zoom call and walk you through that process.
Great.
Okay, Ann Kirby was asked about where she found the timer, and she got that on Amazon. So
Yeah, not an Amazon fan, but it was the one that place I could get it the quickest.
Yeah.
Oh, don't get Laurie and Jim talking about Amazon with chemicals. I think
This is what I tell people. With Amazon, you're going to order a box of chemical. It's going to show up your doorstep, but you're not going to get this. That's what I tell people. Right, Jim?
Yeah, and I think that the difference between getting things from Amazon, which seems to be the way to do it, my wife loves it, but I think that by working through these large distributors, you're going to be better off in the long run because you'll have a wider selection of product, one location, and one delivery, and you're going to get a lot of advice from the manufacturers.
maybe we could mute NT. I don't know.
I would totally agree on the Amazon front. I would not buy my chemicals from Amazon, but this hover device was where I could.
No, I get you. You're right.
And I want the link to that timer because, again, this is the cool thing about being in distribution. I could send that literature to my boss and say, we need to carry these, and we would sell them. It's awesome. I love it.
I'd like to add that this might be a subject for a future lunch and learn. Right now, indoor seating at restaurants is not permitted unless you're in the green zone. So as we move towards the green zone locally here, there may be some specific suggestions that we can do for restaurants and food service that would be different than going into a retail store. If you go into a retail store, you're supposed to wear a mask anyway. So if you go to the restroom, you still have your mask. That's not necessarily going to be true in inside dining.
Well, Kathy can speak to what we're planning. That was a nice lead-in.
Good segue there, Jim.
Yeah, all right.
Well, more to come. We're reaching out and working with how we can put the processes in place to help small businesses plan for protecting employees, the workplace, and their customers. So we've got a number of things in the work that Denise is referring to, engaging Penn Medicine and some of the other people in the area. So it'll be good.
Okay, we're closing in on our 1 o'clock time. Is there any other questions, comments?
If there are unique questions that we haven't had a chance to address, can we list those in the email that we send out following this presentation with their answers?
Sure. If there's anything that we get that would be informative to the group, we can send it out. And all of you, as Jerry mentioned early, don't hesitate to reach out to SCORE. If you have a SCORE mentor, we've trained all of our SCORE mentors, so they're there to serve you, and a number are on this call. But you can also get a SCORE mentor by reaching out to us, and Jerry gave that as well. So SCORE's here to help you all be successful. And before you leave, in order to be successful, your feedback is essential to us. So I'd like to put up this poll. And, oh no, what happened to it?
That's the reason you're running the slides.
The perils of Zoom.
Yeah, I had it all prepared, so maybe I can't do it. It says I'm logged in as somebody else, but I didn't change my login. Anyhow, sorry about that. I did have a poll and it's not letting me put it up, so I'm not going to tie you up on it. Thank you all.
We could show a show of hands on our participant piece. I think we have a reaction.
Yeah.
I would like to, I'd like to thank everyone for participating today in our first virtual Lunch and Learn. And we'll take a look at this, and Ann Kirby and I'll talk about, should we do this virtually the next time, or can we do it actually on the 6th floor of the Candy Factory? So we will let you know that in due time. Thanks again for being with us, and a special thanks to Laurie, Denise, and Jim for their input.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Take care,
Appreciate it.
everybody.
Be safe.
Thank you.
What happened to it?
Hey, Laurie.